Hello everybody and welcome to a deck profile and games of a Alolan Ninetales GX. This is a modified version of Gustavo Wada's list from North American Intercontinentals or Internationals, and I've gone with a 2 Hex Maniac in the list, which I think is pretty spicy, and let's jump in. Alolan Ninetales GX, 210 HP attacker, 3 attacks, Ice Blade for double colorless, 50 damage anywhere. Blizzard Edge does 160 for 2 water and a colorless, discarding 2 energy in the process, hopefully a double colorless. And then Ice Path GX, double colorless, allowing us to move any damage from the Ninetales onto our opponent's active. Similar to Damage Change from Mewtwo EX, but better because we don't swap the damage, we just move the damage. So if your opponent can't get over the 210, we just move that damage straight off, healing up the Ninetales and hopefully taking our knockout at the same time. So a really beefy water type attacker that we will use as our primary attacker in the deck. And stage 1 Pokemon evolving from the basic Vulpix. Now the Alolan Vulpix, pretty cool basic, used in a lot of decks that aren't even Ninetales decks, for its energyless attack Beacon. Beacon lets you search your deck for any 2 Pokemon, reveal them and put them into your hand. This lets you really set up. It lets you search out the Ninetales that you need, search out a Tapu Lele if you need to Lele for a supporter on the next turn, and it's really just a quick and easy way to get yourself set up. If you want to start with this guy, we play 4 of him and 3 of the Ninetales. We then look at our support Pokemon. We play 2 Tapu Lele. The Lele Wonder Tag ability lets us search our deck for a supporter, and Energy Drive for a double colorless does 20 times the amount of energy on both Pokemon. So also a good backup attacker with a retreat cost of 1. Psychic type and an attack that doesn't get affected by weakness and resistance, which can be useful in a couple of awkward situations and awkward matchups. Let's have a look what else we have. We've also got Sudowoodo. Now this is a tech card, can be replaced with a couple of other options, but Roadblock ability restricts your opponent's bench down to 4. We then play a 1/2 Tapu Koko promo for double colorless, letting us spread 20 damage across the field. It also provides us with a free retreater. So the 20 damage spread helping us clean up a lot of late game knockouts, and really setting up some easier knockouts where we can't reach specific damage targets. But the free retreat is pretty important for Ninetales in that it allows us to power up our attackers on the bench and then free retreat back into those. And we do that through the use of Aqua Patch, letting us attach water energy from the discard pile. So after a knockout, we attach water energy, retreat back into our attacker, and off we go. We play a 2/2 lineup Octillery, letting us use the Abyssal Hand to draw back up to 5. Very important just to keep our hand refreshed. And now let's look at the other items in the deck. We play the 4 Aqua Patch, as mentioned. We also play 2 Field Blower. Our abilities are important, and we also need to be able to knock off Fury Belts. 4 Ultra Ball for maximum consistency, 4 VS Seeker to get back our supporters. We play 2 of the Rough Seas to heal up our Pokemon as we need them, 1 Bridget to support, really gets 3 Pokemon out, 3 non-EXs, 2 Hex Maniac, the most important thing I believe in the deck. The format's heavily ability focused at the moment, and being able to shut down his abilities turn 1 is really important. I really like the 2 count, and I think this is what makes the deck work for me. 2 Lysander, bring up opponent's Pokemon. 3 N. We also need to reach specific numbers. Kukui lets us get there. That extra 20 damage just gets us to that 210 mark or 180 mark. Pretty important. 3 Choice Band to get to those magic numbers. As mentioned, the 160 goes to 190 with a Kukui 210. We play 4 Professor Sycamore, discard a hand, draw 7. 2 Floatstone, hopefully going on to the Octillery. 4 double colorless energy and 8 water energy. And that's it. That is the deck profile. So let's jump into a few games after this. I'll just give you a quick look at the deck as a whole. I think Sudowoodo, before we jump through, as I mentioned, is a tech card, keeping your opponent's bench down to 4. A couple of other options are available. The one that I'm leaning towards is either another Tapu Koko promo. It's just a really great card. Another Kukui to hit that extra 20. And then, you know, the restriction of 4 is important, but with the spread damage, another potential inclusion is this Espeon EX with Miraculous Shine for a colorless energy, allowing us to devolve our opponent's Pokemon. So once we spread enough damage, we're able to actually take the highest evolution, put it back in our opponent's hand, and take some sneaky knockouts that way. Especially if our opponent has been using rare candies to evolve from the basic up to a stage 2. Sometimes we're able to knock out quite a number of those basics with low HP later on in the game. So it's an option, something I've been considering and toying with, but I do like the 4 bench restriction, especially if you catch your opponent off guard. So let's save up the deck, jump onto the versus ladder, and catch a few games. Alright, so we're up against a water, fairy and fire deck. Not sure what this is. Don't know what the fairy is, but let's see what we're up against here. Alright, so we start with a Remoraid, 2 Ultra Balls. That should let us search everything out that we need. We have the double colorless. Alright, so it's a Sylveon GX. This is a deck where the Hex Maniac turn 1 can really just win you the game. We get a couple of mulligans, which is fantastic, so let's see if we can draw off those mulligans. We'll take both of them. Alright, so we get the Vulpix, which is fantastic. Let's put the Float Stone onto the Remoraid, retreat into the Vulpix, and I'm going to Ultra Ball here. Let's discard the Wada and the Ultra Ball, keep that Lysander in hand, go for the Tapu Lele. We're going to Lele for a Hex Maniac, shutting off that Energy Evolution ability on the Eevee, which means we've only got 1 Hex, so we need to use it carefully. Playing the Hex Maniac, meaning that our opponent can't get that Sylveon GX into play straight away. This deck also would be a prime candidate for that Espeon EX. So, as you see, our opponent attaches double colorless and has to pass the turn. So here, this is awkward. It would have been ideal if we had a way of getting more energy on the bench, but we're going to be just short of the 60 HP knockout on the Eevee. We're able to put 50 on it, and let's see. If our opponent gets the Fairy Energy here, they're going to evolve up, and that will be difficult for us. But let's see what happens. Pass over to our opponent's turn and see what he can do. Alright, so he's going to Max Potion, discard that double colorless. Does he have the Fairy? Nope, just another double colorless. Alright, so now we need a Kukui. Alright, so we top deck Ultra Ball. We can Ultra Ball here, discarding, it doesn't really matter, Lysander and Choice Band. The Kukui's in there, we grab a Lele. Lele for the Kukui, and we'll take a 70 damage knockout on that active Eevee. That's the problem with Sylveon. As a deck, it's a bit of a glass cannon. It can just totally crap out on you if you can't draw into your Sylveons or your Fairy energies. So we'll take that. We take those wins. I'm not going to complain. Right. Let's jump into, let's have a quick look. Alright, so it's an Evolutions build. I'm not really sure you need the damage in the deck. I think you're trying to aim for disruption. Not playing a lot of enhanced hammers. It looks fairly light on the disruption, but an interesting deck all the same. Alright, so let's just grab another game after we watch all the stars and flashes on the ladder. Alright. Okay, so we're up against a water electric grass. So this is probably maybe a Vikavolt Tapu Bulu deck. Something along those lines. Start with a Vulpix and a Remoraid for the bench. We haven't put that down yet. We are starting, so it gives us a few options. I don't think we need to play the Ultra Ball here. I think we can bench the Remoraid, attach to the active, No, I think we're safe to just bench the Rim Raid and play Hex Maniac here. That turn 1 Hex, as I said, you know, stopping our opponent from playing down a Lele for cards they need. It's also important, I think, to get into the discard pile now, so we have access to it late game if we want to shut down the Vikavolt Strong Charge ability. Our opponent is going to bench in another Grubbin, so 2 Grubbin and Vulpix, which he's going to use to search out the higher evolutions. Okay, not a bad hand here. We can use the Abyssal hand to draw our hand back up, hopefully drawing into something useful, maybe even a Ninetales. Alright, so we top deck another Hex Maniac, which is actually fantastic. So let's put down the Vulpixes, get the Floodstone onto the Remoraid, attach to the bench, and we'll Abyssal hand for 3. Let's see if we can draw. Wow, that's a lot of double colors. Alright, so let's beacon here. So before we do that, we play down the Hex Maniac, shutting off abilities, and we'll beacon, getting ourselves a Ninetales and a Lele, so we can get a supporter on the next turn. Or otherwise we'll just force our opponent to play an in, since they know what we have in hand. Alright, 2 more Grub and hit the bench. Charger Bugs come down. He won't be able to use Strong Charge even if he did Rare Candy into the Vikavolt, and we get a pretty decent hand here. Alright, gonna beacon for the GX and a Strong Charge Vikavolt. So let's evolve the active. We don't have a way to power up the bench and do any other damage here, so I think we can afford to get rid of the Floatstone and the Artillery, grabbing another Ninetales for the bench. Do we want to Hex here again? We have the Via Seeker. I think it's a good play. We know what our opponent has in hand, so I'm not going to play down the Rough Seas. Our opponent's Pokemon are electric type, so we don't really want to give him the heal. And let's place that 50 damage onto the electric attachment Charger Bug, putting it in range for a knockout next turn if he doesn't evolve it. We know he's got the Pokemon in hand, but really just forcing him to choose wisely with his attachments here. And our opponent's going to beacon one more time for another GX and another Strong Charge. So I think we need to end our opponent at this point. We can Abyssal Hand for 1, see what we hit, and then we can use the Lele, Wanda Tag, and grab ourselves an N. Yeah, I think that's the right play. So Abyssal Hand. Okay, we top deck the N. I don't think we need to play the Lele down now. We've used both Hex Maniac, so no more access to that. We can put a water in the discard now with the Ultra Ball and get ourselves another Ninetales GX in play. Not going to be needing that Bridget anymore now that we're all set up. So let's just attach to that benched Ninetales and let's see what our opponent is able to do here. We'll take a knockout, going down to 5 prizes. And now our opponent's got the option. We know he's got another Strong Charge Vikavolt to be able to charge up that Vikavolt GX, get a energy attachment to the Vulpix so that he can retreat it. And if he has a Choice Band, then he will be able to hit that 210 number, 180 plus the 30 for the 210. So does he have the Choice Band, Lysander, to take out our benched Ninetales GX? And that will also force him to discard energy, but he's just done 1 extra. Okay, so he does have the Choice Band, he's got the extra energy attachment, so next turn he'll be able to attack again for the 180. So we are going to need to use that Field Blower, discarding that Choice Band. Does he have the Lysander? Alright, so he's got the Lele, he can Wonder Tag. Now he's got a choice. I don't know what that last card is, but if it's not a supporter, this is a pretty greedy play from our opponent. Going to do the 210. If we hit an Aqua Patch, we can charge up that bench. So let's put the free retreating artillery up. Alright, so we hit a Rough Seas, not really useful. I probably should have played that down so that I could have actually field blowed it away to bring our hand size down. But yeah, alright, so we've got an energy attachment to the bench. I think we are going to need to go for the Hex here again. Shutting down that strong charge. Retreat, and let's put the 50 on the active. If on our next turn we're able to hit a water energy choice band, that puts us at 190 damage. With the 50 is 240. Taking out that active, taking out the major threat on the field. And if we can get a Pseudo Widow down, we can stop our opponent from being able to set up another Vicavolt GX. Alright, so he's going to put the 50 on the active and attach from the discard pile instead of doing the 180. Interesting choice. I think here I'm going to play down the Rough Seas. I don't want to put myself in range for one of the baby Vicavolts with a choice band, so let's discard. Maybe we hit a field blower. Nope, no field blower, but we do hit the Pseudo Widow, and we hit the energy and the choice band. So everything we need to take the knockout. I think we heal up, take ourselves out of range, and let's power up the bench as much as we can here. Put down the Pseudo Widow, and we can Abyssal Hand, draw 2 more cards. Let's see if we hit another Aqua Patch. Alright, so we'll go with the Blizzard Edge, doing the 190, discarding that double colorless, leaving our opponent with not a lot of options in the field for attackers. Everything's kind of out of range. We're at 3 prizes and he's at 4, so let's see what he can do. Put another Versus Seeker there to shut down abilities up. Our opponent's going to scoop, and we'll take that win. Alright, so once again that Hex Maniac coming in clutch. Let's jump into one more game and see what we're up against. Alright, so we are playing against a Lightning and Psychic. Can't be Vicavolt, there's no grass typing in there. Could be Tapu Koko GX. Maybe Koko Electro Raikou. Candy Lightning. Alright. Could be a Magnezone. Yep. Raikou Magnezone. So Raikou, wow, Kukui turn 1. So we know our opponent doesn't really have any supporter in deck. I think we can comfortably use the Lele here. Wonder Tag for a Bridget, which is not in our deck. That's great. Awesome. Let's get the Hex Maniac and get the party started. Are we at risk of a turn 1 knockout here? I doubt our opponent plays double colorless. And with that Hex, I think we are pretty safe for one turn. So let's take the Ninetales, another Vulpix, and if we can get this set up and keep chaining those Hexes, I think we actually will be in a good position. So our opponent going to bridge it most likely for another Raikou and 2 Magnemites onto the bench. Yep, alright. Those Magnemites have their free retreat. If they had an ability, they would. Ether Paradise coming down, reducing our damage to any basic type lightning Pokemon. That does include the bench, so the 50 snipe damage isn't going to really do much, unfortunately. Everything on the field is basic. Do we want to bounce this? Then he can heal the 30, so it doesn't really make a difference at this point in time. I think I might want to wait for him to hit into the Ninetales first. So let's put that Hex down again. Play down the Vulpix. Play the Hex Maniac. And we'll put that 50 damage onto the bench. Magnemite, 20 damage because of the Ether Paradise Conservation Area. Alright, so he does get that Reku powered up, and he's able to Rare Candy the undamaged Magnemite, Float Stone it, and Sycamore, discarding another Magnet Zone in the process. That Magnet Zone, for those that don't know, lets you attach any amount of lightning energy you have in your hand to your Pokemon in any way you like. Kind of like the Deluge, Blastoise, and Keldeo Blastoise. So, most likely going to Rare Candy, Rare Candy into another Magnet Zone, having 2 in play, giving him access to a lot of energy if he can draw it into the hand. 110, not enough to move onto our opponent here. So I think we are going to Rough Seas, and we're going to heal ourselves up, putting ourselves out of range, but he can also heal that benched Magnet Zone as well. And just going to play down the Hex and take the knockout, removing all energy from the field and leaving our opponent with no way to really attach again with the ability. We get another Ninetales, we can play that down onto the bench. So our opponent going to attach. Pikachu EX coming into play. Has that attack where you can discard all lightning energy, do 50 for each lightning you discard in that way. Sycamore, fresh hand to 7, playing down another Raker onto the bench. Does he retreat, or does he? Okay, so he does retreat. A Shining Body ability should give him some level of protection. I think we can comfortably Field Blower the Rough Seas away now, together with that Choice Band on the active. And let's play an N here. Alright, so we get double Aqua Patch. I'm actually going to Aqua Patch twice onto the bench and retreat that active. It has a 1 retreat cost. So we can now put 50 onto, let's see. Yeah, let's put on the active. Shining Body will reduce it, but it does just make late game knockout a little bit easier. Our opponent going to Lysander up the Ninetales, hoping to stall out a few turns. Do we attach here, or do we try and go for the Float Stone? I think we can attach to the Ninetales and try for the Float Stone. I'm not too worried. Worst case, he needs to do 160, so it's a lot of energy to attach. We missed the Float Stone, unfortunately, but let's see what he can do here. We could have Ultra Balled, got the Remoraid into play. Okay, we got the Artillery anyway, so we can actually attach the active and retreat. But let's look to use that Abyssal Hand. Our opponent going to skip. Okay, so we get the win. 3 quick games. Not the most meta games, but should give you a view of the deck and how it works. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.